In an effort to maintain compliance with CDC and Pinellas County guidelines for social distancing and general public safety, the city has set up Zoom virtual meetings to facilitate the broadcasting of the Public Art Committee meetings and provide for public comments. My name is Joan Jennings. I'm the chair of the Public Art Committee, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 2 o'clock on Tuesday, July 14th. Marissa, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Iwanu?
Here.
Ms. Gregory?
Here.
Mr. Meals?
Here.
Ms. Robinson?
Here.
Ms. Jennings?
Here.
Mr. Stackhouse? Ms. Oberlander?
I can see Mr. Stackhouse, even though he didn't reply, but
Oh, Mr. Stackhouse?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
okay,
Lightly.
thank you.
okay. It seems Ms. Oberlander is absent, but we do have a quorum. Okay, you.
I have one. Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I have a doctor's appointment at 3:45, and I might have to leave early if this runs into that.
I seriously doubt we'll go longer than an hour.
All right, good, thank you.
Okay. If it does, you can sick the dogs on me. They'll come from Bill's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Mark, do we have any guests?
We have one person in attendance.
Okay. Diane sent out the minutes from the last meeting, June 9th. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June 9th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the June 9th meeting.
Trish, a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Lucianne?
I have one slight addition on page 5 at the bottom. When we voted to keep the call to artists local for the art boxes, my
Right.
understanding and my vote was based on, we meant for the first round.
Oh, okay, so you want to put for the first round?
Correct.
Any other additions, corrections, comments? Okay, Trish, would you like to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Yes, I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, minutes are accepted as amended from Lucianne's comment. Now, we also have as handout number 2, the workshop minutes from June 15th. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, Lucianne. Can I get a second?
A second.
Trish, are there any comments, corrections? Okay, all in favor of vote accepting the workshop minutes as submitted? Please
Aye.
raise your hand. Aye. Any against? Okay, it's unanimous. The minutes of the workshop on June 15th are accepted as submitted. Okay, now we're going to the approval of the updates to the guidelines and the master plan from the workshop. And I apologize, there was confusion about what version went out, but we're discussing the version that Diane sent out on Monday, yesterday. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve what are we doing? The guide to the master plan, yes.
Okay, do I have a
As amended.
second?
As amended, yeah.
No, these aren't amended. These are the updates to the guidelines and master plan.
Right, the updates.
Okay, do I have a second? Anyone?
Second.
Thank you, Theo. Okay, do we have any comments, corrections, Lucian?
Yes, I think we voted to approve the updated guidelines in the workshop. So I would definitely support, if we have to do that in a regular meeting, I would support a motion to approve the guidelines. But the version I got yesterday of the master plan portion of the document is not complete. It doesn't have the list of projects, of locations that we talked about during the workshop. Like page 5 has some omissions on it, so I'm not sure this is a document we want to formalize.
Okay, Diane, I believe that the list of all of the artwork has already been codified. I think we all got it on a CD. Is that?
I don't
we
mean
need to put
existing
in?
artwork. I don't mean existing. I mean all of the locations we talked about for proposed projects.
Okay, I didn't think we needed to be that specific. If you feel that we should put those specific locations in, we can certainly add them.
I do. The ordinance clearly states that we are to suggest locations and prioritize them. And those are, they're the full list. I think almost the full list is in our minutes from the work session. But I don't know if we ever received that list, which you asked be distributed to us so that we could either add, comment, delete. But yeah, I do think we need to be very specific.
Okay. Okay, do you have those locations from your notes?
They're in the minutes.
Okay,
And we talked about the pros and cons of a lot of different locations, and we're to have received a list of those based on our discussions so that we could review them.
okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to. Too much paper here.
I see it. Are you speaking of, Lucian, on page 5 of the minutes from the workshop?
Hang on, I'll check my
Yes,
art.
paper, okay.
Yeah, they were enumerated on 5.
Yeah, I got the golf course, Sunset Beach, the dumpster corrals, the marina, Sisler Field, and the water tower.
Yes, also previous to that, Innis Park, waterways, which Diane suggested. Those all seem to have a fairly positive response from committee members.
Okay,
Okay, well, what we can do is we can certainly take that from the minutes and we'll put it in the master plan. And then I'll just send you all master plan after this meeting.
okay. So we're back to, where we started from. We can't get a final motion to approve until we get the amended version. Is that correct, Diane?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, so Trish?
Yeah, excuse me, I have a question. On what Lucianne's talking about, these were just discussions. They weren't decided or anything. They were just out for, discussion, but I don't know, I can't see any reason to amend the master plan because of it, because, it wasn't anything that was voted on or decided or anything like that. That's just my take on it.
Okay, see, I thought that the mention of city-owned property was kind of all-inclusive, but how does the rest of the people on the committee feel about that? Do you think city-owned property is all-inclusive, or do you want them enumerated like we did at the workshop?
I think enumerating them sort of eliminates the possibilities of any kind of additions that should happen to come along. I don't know if that's possible or what, or whether you can add on to this list as things occur. So maybe all city property is.
Well, for instance, I know that the Board of Commissioners is considering the purchase of two properties. One is the M&M Marina and the other is the Hoffman property. And if we, enumerate them, those would automatically, they would have to be added after the fact, and that would be a process again. Am I making any sense, Lucianne?
No, that makes perfect sense, but why? I don't think we're prevented from revisiting the 5-year plan anytime we want.
Right, but as I said, I just thought, the term city-owned properties would just be all-inclusive. And the enumeration might be limiting.
Yeah, I wasn't part of what happened last summer with the master plan, but my
Mhm.
understanding from what you and Diane and others have said was that the city attorney rejected it because it wasn't specific enough. So
I believe that's correct, Lucy. And I think one of the things that you've done by revising it is that we have added, other content in here, which I think, will definitely qualify as, something specific. But I mean, I don't see, once we go through and add projects, we can always update it and just bring it back for, an approval if that's what the committee wants.
Either that or we could combine both. We could enumerate the ones we discussed and maybe add the phrase, an additional city property as it becomes acquired. Because that would open the door to adding.
that makes perfect sense.
Okay. Now, does anybody feel comfortable with just going ahead and approving these as amended, or do you want to see the amendment incorporated before we do a final approval? Because that'll push it off another month.
I'd like to see a good, strong document for approval. And I also want to point out on page 5 of the draft we got yesterday, there it says the Public Art Program Master Plan establishes 4 main functions, but there are only 3 listed there.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the problems is that we've got so many versions of this flying around. Okay, and that was on page 5.
Yes.
Okay, goals of the public art program.
The page starts with development of this second public art program master plan.
Okay. I didn't print it out. My printer's on the,
Mine is on strike.
okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, development of the second public art master plan.
If you go down after our names
Right,
to the next section,
right. 4 main functions. Oh, yeah, for the next 5 years. It probably got lost in formatting. Diane, could you just go back to the old version? There was probably one that just got cut off.
Let's see.
Thanks for picking up on that, Lucianne.
There were just 3 on the old version too.
Maybe that was done during, maybe it was deleted during a previous
Yeah,
revision, and 4 wasn't changed to 3, because I don't see it on the old version either.
yeah,
It was the same on the old version. I have both of them here,
okay.
on both of them.
So I guess we should change 4 to 3 main functions, unless somebody can add another function.
It's on page 5.
So we have
Okay.
community-based mural program, temporary public art program, and urban furnishings.
Are you leaving out anything like permanent public art programs?
Or maybe just remove the word temporary. I was wondering about
Yeah.
that word temporary myself.
Yeah, that just cuts off a whole, it's like we're, the Bahamian hooker is not going to be included.
Right,
So
Oh,
temporary is wrong. Public-private collaboration.
So you want that changed to permanent public art program? Is that
about-
what I'm hearing?
Well, you have temporary ones as well. So
Mhm.
how about adding major permanent installations?
I like that.
Okay.
And we're gonna change the 4 to 3, correct?
No,
I
no,
thought we were
now,
adding,
now we're adding a 4th, so we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I thought we were just changing temporary.
no, we're keeping
Okay, so
that.
we're rating the 4th, okay. Thanks.
So what is number 2 now? What is it? We're saying public art program, what is it? Are we saying we're leaving it as temporary? Okay. Great, got it.
Okay. Okay, so Marissa, you'll make those changes. And maybe if we could see them sooner rather than later, that, we'd be, if anybody has any, corrections or things like this, maybe send them to Diane and we could, work them into the document before it comes before us again. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Except, okay. Okay, so that, the approval of the updates to the guidelines and master plan will be deferred to the August meeting with amendments and corrections as suggested. Okay, I don't think we need a motion for that. Anyone else have any comments, questions? Okay. Going to old business, the role of the PAC members. I think this is there because I just wanted to give everybody a little pep talk. You know, I think that everybody's here because of their knowledge and familiarity and love of the arts. And it would be great if, you know, you thought of some programs or projects that you could bring back to the PAC. And, you know, just to encourage a little more, you know, interaction. And, you know, one of the things I've been kind of whining about for a couple of months is that, you know, these Zoom meetings are not particularly conducive to, you know, the free flow of collegial information. You know, it feels like we're all in a little box, and it's, to me, it's always been so much easier to do this face to face, where you can sort of get excited and push paper around and say, look what I saw. This format just kind of stifles that. And I know at the last meeting, a few of you sort of expressed the same feelings. So Diane, did you want to throw in a few comments about this as well?
Sure, and I just wanted to make, because you have so many new people, you know, on the committee too. Remember, this is your committee. You're appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and you know, Marissa and I and Chief Cochin are liaisons for you to the city. But you know, when we do projects and we're looking to do research and things like that for a particular project that you might want to do, you know, you are the ones that can be doing the research. And the thing that you cannot do is you cannot talk to each other outside of the meetings, of course, because of the sunshine laws, but you can certainly, like a lot of times, like Joan or somebody will say to me, it's like, I found this neat article. Can you please send it out to the rest of the, you know, the PAC members? And so, you know, you may think like you're getting inundated with, you know, different paperwork and information, but it's because to protect you with the sunshine laws that, you know, we can't discuss it outside the meetings. However, you can share information through me if you see something that's of interest that you think would be helpful to other committee members. But please know that, you know, when we're writing call to artists and everything, we want you to be the ones to do this, and we can certainly help. And that's kind of what Joan and I did on the call to artists for the Illuminated Art Boxes, is we collaborated on coming up with a call to artists, which is why I sent you all that information about, you know, what are the steps to commissioning a bronze statue, you know, all the different steps that go into it. It's kind of like an educational kind of thing, because we can't all be experts in everything. And then like calls to artists, you know, from a national organization, I thought that might be helpful to you to see, you know, what are the things that you as a committee have to decide on before we can actually do a call to artists, you know, on some of the projects. So again, you know, this is your committee, and, you know, it's like, so please sign up to help out. And, you know, any way you feel, you know, that you can be, you know, assist in moving the projects forward. And we just appreciate, you know, all that you're doing and your assistance. So that's all. That's my.
Yeah, you know, it's, as I said, you know, I mourn the lack of, you know, free-flowing communication. I think it works, and it's a necessity for other committees like, you know, planning and zoning, but, you know, the arts are kind of dependent on communication and interaction, and it's kind of the meaning of art. And, you know, I just found that we've kind of been missing that, especially since we started the Zoom meetings. And I know you folks, you know, you're out there in the art world, you see things, you read things. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I think while we're dedicated to doing things that are unique to the history and culture of Tarpon Springs, we can certainly draw inspiration for certain projects that we can adapt for our community. So, you know, I guess just an increase in interaction. If, as I said, if you see, what's that thing? If you see something, say something. You know,
Mhm.
it's in this instance, it's about art, not crime. So,
Mm.
you know, really, really appreciate it. Okay, the Illuminated Art Boxes. Diane got an email from the Porta Boards, the company that's making them. There have been some slight delays because of COVID, you know, from their suppliers, but he hopes to complete and ship them all next week. So anything you want to add to that, Diane? Is that a pretty accurate?
Mm. He said that he was just waiting on the solar parts and, you know, he would, once he got those, he would go ahead and put them together and ship them out. So, I mean, the way things are going shipment wise and everything and deliveries, you know, I would say anywhere from 1.5 to 2 weeks, possibly. You know, maybe the beginning of August, end of July. Good bet.
Okay, great. Okay, and as Diane mentioned before, you all should have gotten a handout, the call to artists. And, you know, we use the Tarpon Springs Illuminated, but again, please, this is a joint function. If there's anything on here that you think should be, you know, changed or amended, you know, please let us, you know, please let's hear it. Anyone?
Lucian.
I would just
Oh,
like to see the time period so that people knew when their work was going to be exhibited.
okay.
Mhm.
Well, the deadline for submissions is August 7th, so that would be prior to our August meeting for selection. And I guess, you know, with the lack of definite receipt of the boxes, I don't know whether we could tie ourselves into a display date, or we could just put something by the end of August just to be on the safe side.
One of
So,
the things, excuse me, I'm sorry, Lucian, but you know, one of the things we have to consider too is, you know, you all will be making the final selection at your August meeting, and then I guess we'll have to check with the printer to see how long, you know, they need to, you know, print them for the boxes. So, and then I have to also, based on that date, I'll have to get together with Tom Function and his people because they have to install all the boxes and as well as put the artwork in. So we'll have to get on, you know, a schedule with them as well, because I'm not sure what their backlog is. So, I mean, I maybe what we can do, this is just a suggestion, is that depending on the artwork that you choose, we'll have the contact information for those artists. And what we can say is as soon as we have a date of when they'll all be installed and, you know, set up, we will be in contact with you and let you know. And then I'll put out a press release to let everybody know, you know, that we had this new installation up, you know, and then we could get it out on social media too. How's that sound?
that sounds great for the initiation. I'm more concerned about the end date for this initial round because everybody seems to want a winter theme to go into place for the holidays. So are we giving this first round short shrift or should we let this run longer? I'm just, I don't understand what dates are already slotted for different things.
Right. Well, I think the whole idea of doing, you know, holiday images was kind of suggested by the Board of Commissioners. That's kind of where that came from. And If it was up to me, I agree with you, Lucianne. I would just leave these up, do 6 months and 6 months. Do like September to the end of January, something along those lines, and then, switch them out for another 6 months. But I don't know, how does everybody feel about that? I mean,
I would
Well,
like-
it's going to
Trish?
cost more.
No, right, so what Robert said, I would like to see them up longer than a month or two.
okay, Robert?
Yeah, I was just saying that you can't put them up for just a few months. I mean, first of all, you're going to have to go through this all over again to have more people, I guess. It costs more again, and it's not very cost effective. And knowing if you say that the show's going to they're going to be exhibited through late January or something like that, then people will assume that seasonal stuff can be included.
Okay,
So not everything needs to be seasonal. I think that was the point that we were trying to get across
right,
last time. We don't want this to be a very specific Christmas type thing or
right. Well, it wouldn't be Christmas, but it would be, winter as far as it exists in Tarpon Springs. But I think I'm getting the feeling, and I have to concur with it, that maybe we should, as a realistic date, maybe do the mid-September to mid-February. Let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So why don't we do mid-September's to mid-March for the first round? How does everybody feel about that? And eliminate the holiday themed art, or the winter themed art.
Well, I
And
think
certainly, as Robert said, cost effective.
the bigger question is in the programming for these, do we have a pattern that we want to get everybody into a routine so that they know when it's going to kind of happen? I mean, are we looking every 6 months to swap them out? Or I think we got to come up with whatever our program is and then initiate that and kind of stick with it. I don't know, just a thought.
Right. Yeah, well, that was the other thing that was open for discussion, was the theme. You want to do something loose jointed like nature, Trish?
Well, I was thinking it was going to be something like it says, what is beautiful and inspires you about Tarpon Springs, something that has to do with that reflects Tarpon Springs in some way.
Okay. Does anybody feel it should be a little more specific? Like marine scenes, landscapes?
I don't think specific.
Yeah. Theo, you look like you're pondering something.
I was just thinking, I think you have to see how it's received with the artist, and actually you probably have to see how many applications you get in. If you get 20, then you can, or if you get more than 20, if you don't get 20, then you have to see how it's received with the public, with the artists and stuff like that. I do think it makes sense maybe to keep it up a little bit longer, since it's kickoff, and that gives us time to figure out a cycle and a schedule and stuff like that. And then the other thing, I think, since it is like the first one, to get it kicked off, to keep the theme a little bit more open-ended, just so that you get a larger, you have a bigger chance of getting a larger pool of artists to actually want to, supply artworks and stuff like that.
Right. Bill, do you,
Yeah, I think that's really good, Theo.
okay. So basically what Trish suggested is, like confine the images to Tarpon Springs in one shape or another.
Well,
Lucianne, you look quizzical.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm in total agreement.
Okay, good. Okay. So Diane, I guess we'll tweak that, those 2 points. And
I did have one more suggestion for the flyer, maybe to include the dimensions and orientation of the art boxes on there, just so that artists
okay.
know how to orient and how to size their like photographs and stuff like that, so that they don't submit something square and it doesn't fill up the whole rectangle. Something.
Well,
like
the boxes are going to be square, so they can be.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, the new boxes are
okay.
going to be 30 by 30 because, what I realized when you submitted your work for consideration that other than that was the image of yours I like the best, or we like the best, but we were limited to a vertical image, and if people do
Okay.
landscapes, so to sort of cover all the different
Yeah,
options.
and that was my concern.
That's
I
okay.
think-
I do think that including the dimensions of the 30 by 30 box will give artists some scale.
Right.
Robert is,
I think,
Robert?
how tall are these up in the air? They're about 12 feet up, aren't they?
I believe so. I'm very bad with things like that.
But
Did you see the one that's on the sponge
Yes.
docs?
I did see it, and that particular image, which is very good, really reads well from that. But a lot of images won't read well from that because of the height and the distance that people are seeing it from. So you might want to, in the flyer, mention that the light boxes are so much by so much in size and positioned 10 or 12 feet on a pole. That could help with their kind of sense of scale, of readability. You don't want people doing a lot of super detail. You have to get up on a ladder to see.
Okay. That's a good point. Okay.
I think
So we don't want people.
what that does is it helps eliminate having to, the committee eliminate saying, well, I don't think we can see this from 4 feet away.
Right. Very good point. Okay.
Readability is working on this.
Okay. Diane will have to set 2 on this and maybe just get it out to people and, if we don't hear any, really damning comments, I think we can try to get this out.
so as far as the, just to make sure that I put the correct revisions on here, we are going to have this displayed from mid-September through mid-March. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Because I think that will give us enough wiggle room for the delivery, the printing and the installation.
I can revise this this afternoon after the meeting, and then I will send everybody 2 things. I'll send you a PDF of it that you can share on an email, and I will send you a JPEG that you can put in your social media. And then
Okay.
I'll put it on our city Facebook pages and social media too, to get it out there. Okay, and then Trish, it's going to be important for you to get it to, the Tarpon Springs Art Association.
I was planning to do that this afternoon. We've only got 3 weeks. The deadline's only 3 weeks away. So
Right.
we really need to get this out right away. So I personally think it's fine the way it is. But whatever.
Well, they're minor changes. Robert?
Yeah, they're just a few things I think are important. Go ahead.
I just have two things. One, a question: is there going to be any kind of a celebration of the opening of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think Diane mentioned a press release and maybe the ribbon cutting, again, as far as we can, given all of the quarantine restrictions.
yeah. Okay. All right. So and the never mind. I forgot to say.
I feel like my whole life is boxed in by this quarantine stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to do whatever we can, at the very least, a press release, and hopefully some kind of, I think the city has, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, has had some, quote unquote ribbon cuttings, with very limited audiences.
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't seen too much of that.
Yeah. So,
And I think what I will also do is I will go ahead and once you select the artists that we're going to be using for these, I might go, in the meantime, I'm going to ask the city attorney if we need to have some sort of release form for them to
Mhm.
sign, giving us permission to put it up there, so.
right, right. And I think since, well, first of all, Trish, I think a lot of these people need to know that they can use existing art
Oh, yeah.
as long as it fits the, the Tarpon Springs theme. And, ask Tom if we even, Tom Trask, if we even, I mean, they're getting $100. So I'm sure it'll be pretty easy to come up with, some kind of release permission form, whatever.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay. Lucianne?
Should we start thinking about the next round when we want to do up the next call and that deadline so that we're giving people a little more time?
Absolutely. Okay, so if these are coming down in mid-March, what would you suggest is a good lead time for the next call?
Mid-January.
Okay, yeah, right after, say, just post Epiphany when everything calms down. Say mid-January.
Then we look at them at the February meeting, is that correct? And is that enough lead time to get them reproduced and installed?
So let's see, January, February. Well, unless you want to push the next thing back to April, 1st of April. Give us a little more wiggle room on the printing process. The thing is, I guess I sound like I'm floundering, but as Diane said, we're dealing with a lot of, kind of unknown factors here, like the printing turnaround time. In other words, we could go from mid-September to end of March instead of mid-March. Lucianne, does that make a little more sense?
With the information we have, yes, I can't make that a definitive because I don't understand any of the timeframes, so.
Right, well, I don't think, Robert?
I'm just saying with the time frame, I haven't been involved in a project in the last 4 months. It hasn't changed its time frame a number of times. So I think it stands at, it's really hard to give a definitive date and say, all right, this is when we're going to meet this. But
Right,
giving it as much time as you can into late April or whatever, or end of April, gives you a time to turn around in between. I mean, all the complications of everything.
okay, so how does everybody feel now about the end of April? So the next round would go up May 1st. Does that give us a little more breathing room on the next round? Anyone?
Well, that would be, yeah, I agree with that. I think it gives people a chance. And then there's, May 1st is a kind of memorable date. It's celebratory in some respects, and it gives us
Right.
time. I mean, I think especially starting this, and gives you really a winter show and a summer show.
Okay, so to recap all of this, this round is going to be up from mid-September to the end of April. The next round will go up May 1st. The next call will go out in the, beginning or middle of January, say post Epiphany. And we'll review them at our February meeting and then have them printed and prepared for installation by the 1st of May. Does that timetable seem to work? That would give the printer also a little breathing room.
I think that's good.
Okay, Diane, you got all of that?
Mhm.
Okay. The project updates, okay. Let's see, if you look at your handout number 4, the Cecilia Louise sculpture, that's the one in front of the Ikaria Apartments on Pinellas Avenue. And I believe she communicated to Diane, quote, "We are reaching completion in a couple of weeks. The sculpture's title is Delta and will be painted white." Okay, any questions or comments about that one? It's pretty clear cut. Christopher Still mural, it's about 65% complete, and everything is going well. He anticipates everything to be finished in February or March of 2021. Now we come to the Indiana sculpture, and the artist has, has anybody gone over and actually seen the wall?
They can't get in without us.
I've
Right,
been
no, that's what
there.
I'm saying. Nobody's requested, nobody's gone over to see it other than Diane and I.
I've seen it at a very, very early stage.
Okay, but you know the scope of the wall.
Yes.
Okay. I guess the artist realized that she's going to need some additional, not only equipment, but insurance funding because because of the quarantine and everything else, this project has taken, much longer than she's anticipated, and her liability insurance is running out and she's gonna have to renew it. And she's also going to need lightweight aluminum scaffolding on wheels. And it would actually be a purchase that can be used for future projects. Also, it will belong to the city of Tarpon Springs. So she got an estimate on the scaffolding of $1,247, and the additional insurance would be $2,750 for a total additional expense of $3,997. And I guess we're asking for a motion to approve the additional expense.
Can we have discussion?
First, you have to move in second. Anyone?
I make a
Make the
motion.
motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, now we can have a discussion.
All right. Is this contract a not to exceed contract?
No,
No. So additional expenditures can be added onto that?
well, within reason. I guess these were things that were beyond the artist's control. As I said, they primarily spurred by the delay. And the scaffolding would be a purchase. It wouldn't be a
Purchase.
rental or something she'd keep for herself. So it would actually be owned by the city of Tarpon Springs. So if anybody else wants to do any future projects, the city would have the scaffolding.
And the city doesn't have anything like that, or city couldn't rent one for how?
If I'm correct, Diane, I believe the rental wasn't that much less expensive than actually buying them.
Yes, and some of the scaffolding that we do have is very industrial-like and really kind of hard to manipulate. It's just for the purposes. So this would just be an addendum to the contract. In all fairness to Elizabeth, she couldn't get into the cultural center for a while because the contractors were in there, and the city has a contract with the contractors that they have possession of the building until they're finished. So right now they're doing the outside, they're finishing up some of the outside, they don't need to be inside. So she was able to get in. But I think the other thing that Elizabeth had mentioned to me is that when you do an outside mural, your color scheme is a little bit more general. And one of the things that she realized in getting into this, from her former mural that she was recreating is that, now since it's an inside type venue and lighting and everything and natural light and fluorescent light, that she's able to use much more vibrant colors. And so it's more of a painting than it is a mural. So
Right, there's a lot more detail.
yeah, so it's
very
taking,
much-
therefore it is taking a lot more time, than trying to do like figures that don't have a whole lot of detail in them that she would do when she did the original mural. So, and because of the COVID and everything, it was tough too, because we shut all our buildings down. So, it's been difficult for her.
Well, if the city's buying it and has it on hand for other artists to use, it's probably a good investment.
I did check and see with the city attorney if this would be something that the public art funds were allowed to fund, and he said yes.
Right. Okay. Most artists I know who do public art have standing liability insurance. It doesn't run out. I understand this running out. I don't understand there being an end date on her liability insurance for this project.
Yeah, I know that, that the, when she, one of the problems too is she had to have the insurance in place when she signed the contract. So that meant that the clock started ticking on this particular policy last September. And she didn't get in there until what, April, Diane?
Oh, no, it was probably the beginning of March, yeah.
Right.
So she
So,
was
I mean-
planning and everything and researching, during that time frame, but she wasn't able to physically paint. So.
Yeah, and I can't speak to what kind of insurance she got or,
I can't either, but most people I know just carry it all the time.
Mhm.
It's one of the costs of being an artist that does large projects. But so I'm just bringing that up. I don't know what to do about it.
Well, the contract that she signed was in there. It actually said what the city, there were 3 types of insurance that the city said that she needed to have when she signed the contract. And also there was a time frame for the project that was specified in the original contract. So that's why she has to redo her insurance at this point, because it is running out based on those parameters.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? And do I hear a motion to approve the expenditure?
We have a motion, don't we, in a second?
Well, then you have to have the discussion and then there's another motion.
Well, I move to approve the expenditure.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, all against? Well, it's 3-2, so it's approved. No, your votes are noted. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Bill, I know you've got to leave. Do you want to give us a quick update on our favorite local artist?
Yeah, we're kind of back to square one with the recycling fish. We thought we had a sculpture that was already created that we were just going to make some modifications to it and it would be workable. Tried to set up a meeting with Department of Public Works to inspect it and take a look at it. and was unable to get that to work out. So we're back to square one with trying to come up with some sort of a sculpture that would work, you know, for recycling. We have to be cautious of, is it easy enough to empty, and are we going to make sure that we don't collect bugs and smells with it as well? So
Right.
a lot of issues there to work on, but we're back to almost zero, you know, square one on that.
Okay. What about the Pelicans? Have you been able to communicate with him about the Pelicans?
No, I really wasn't focused on that, Joan. I didn't know if you were still in that one, or I was just doing the recycling sculpture at this point, but so I can reach out to Kyle. I still need to talk to him and discuss, you know, he has some other ideas or some other thoughts for the recycling. But
Okay.
I can't seem to get thoughts into motion here, so.
Okay. But I know he was pretty definite about the Pelicans. So, you know, if you could just check with him, if you have a problem, if you want me to throw my 2 cents in, I will.
Okay, I really wasn't up to speed with the Pelican. Maybe you could at some point, you could kind of bring me up to speed with where that is.
Okay. Quickly, he proposed doing 6 chrome Pelicans for the sponge docks. 3 were around a kind of stump type structure that, you know, one of them was chair height that people could sit on for a selfie. The other 2 were going to be on a bench that was along the Anclote River, and one was going to be in flight over the bench. And they're kind of whimsical. I think if you saw the presentation that was done for the Board of Commissioners, there were some examples of the type of things he did.
Okay.
And he actually visited the site with Tom Funchen, and the city's already approved the location of the Pelicans. So we just have to make sure he's still
It gets
working on.
across the end line, yeah.
Right. Okay. And Mark, are there any emails or public comments about any of these items?
I would not have received any of the emails. I think those go through
Oh, to
Marissa.
Marissa, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We did not receive any emails on those topics.
Okay. And Mark, no public comments?
No, at this time, we have no public who have their raised hands.
Okay. I guess the next item, I'd like to do this before Bill leaves, is we really need a vice chair for the committee. So you know, does anybody have any nominations for vice chair?
I would nominate Lucy Ann.
Okay. Do I have a second? Lucy Ann, are you willing to take that on?
I would like to defer to the member who has served the longest on this committee, and that would be Trish.
Actually, it's Bill,
Bill?
isn't it? Or is it Trish? No, it's Trish. Okay, yes. Trish, would you be willing to take this on?
Sure.
Okay. Do I have a second for Trish?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Trish, congratulations. You're the new vice chair.
Thank you.
You'll be sitting in this seat if I'm not. Okay. Let me see. Diana, there's nothing else, I guess, that needs a motion except, okay, item 3C, I'd like to get this done quickly before Bill leaves. The city is going to be installing the Glenna Goodacre story time next to the cultural center, and they're going to be doing lighting and landscaping. It was determined that the sculpture does not need any treatment or cleaning after its storage, but they estimate a $500 expense for the lighting. And I'd like to get a motion to approve the $500 for the lighting on the sculpture. And this is an expenditure we can make without any other approval.
I so move.
Lucy Ann, second.
A second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, we have our $500, Diane, for the,
Thank you.
okay. And let's see. I don't know why my glasses are fogging. Okay, well, 3B was review the locations. Okay, I guess we kind of did that.
Well, oh, excuse me, Joan, I'm sorry. I sent you a handout let's see,
All right, well,
the corrals.
right,
Yeah, so everybody got those, you know, so you have all the addresses of the garbage corrals and,
Okay.
you know, and there's the maps of the locations.
okay, great.
So you should have a list with all the addresses of the
Right.
garbage corrals in the city, and then you have maps, and I've highlighted where the corral is. Does everybody have those?
Right,
So just like your, you know, the Illuminated Art Boxes, you can do a call to artists to get the, you know, murals going for the crowds.
right. Now, this is the project where we determined $1,000 flat fee plus materials in order to keep it within the scope of a limited subcontractor so they can fall under the city's liability insurance. Okay, so would anyone like to help Diane with drafting a call to artists for the murals? Lucy Ann?
I have a question. Is this replacing the Artist Alley emphasis?
The Artist Alley's been, it's gone because of
Right.
the
So
terrible
this,
liability issues doing stuff on private property.
so this is its replacement in
Yes,
terms of our mural effort?
yes. Yeah, that was really a shame. I mean,
So this
Diane
would
can
not,
attest how much aggravation we went to trying to find a way around the liability questions, but sorry, Lucy Ann.
so this call would not be restricted in any way. Any artist can respond, young,
Correct.
old.
Right. So, you know, we'd like to again give preference to, you know, local artists, but it would be open to just about anyone.
It
And
was
again, we would decide.
interesting. It was interesting. One of the stories on the peer arc that you sent us had a comment by one of the stakeholders in St. Petersburg that they decided not to say that local artists would be preferred because they didn't want to limit submissions. I just thought that was an interesting point of view.
Yeah, well, we could just do, I mean, it's just going to be an open call, but, and again, you know, all of the proposals will, you know, come before the pack for, you know, selection. So, you know, if somebody's from, you know, the heart of Kansas and they want to come here and paint a mural and we think it's the best thing we've ever seen, you know, that's fine.
So it's not a blind kind of jury. We will know who the artist is when we look at submissions.
No, I think it would be blind. I think that's the only way you can, you know, do something fairly. And like the other one, it would be, you know, the request would be for digital images. So we could, you know, maybe in a Zoom meeting like this, we could ask Mark to just project all of the images and we'd really have no way of knowing who, you know, who did what.
I think one of the reasons that, you know, for the limited art boxes that we had such a short deadline for submissions, you know, for this first one was, you know, we were keeping it close to home, you know, just because we knew that this way, you know, with Trish's help and the local artists associations and things like that, we could probably get a lot of submissions quickly, which is what we needed, you know, for this
Mhm.
particular project. But that doesn't mean you have to do that for all of them.
Right. Okay, so Lucianne, would you be willing to work with Diane
Sure,
on
be
the
happy
call to
to.
artists? Okay, great. The next one, you also got a attachment. One of our citizens, Joseph Weinzettel, is offering to donate a Mitch Colby oil, the Dr. Seuss pine. And we have to decide whether it was going to be accepted or not. The piece is 12 inches by 9 inches. The frame is 17 inches by 4 inches.
14.
And as you can see, it's really a lovely painting. The question is storage, etc. By the way, Mitch Colby is the man who did the cross retriever sculpture next to St. Nicholas Cathedral. So and I believe he's lived in Tarpon for a while.
He also lives in North Carolina.
Yes, now he does, yeah. Diane, do you have any comments about, from the city's point of view, about accepting it?
We do have that really large database of artwork, you know, that's on that thumb drive. He did mention that, you know, he's especially appreciative of the public library. So I can ask Carrie if she's got a special place for it, or we can keep it and put it up in the cultural center when that reopens too. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Yes, Robert?
I don't know. I think I just look at it and I think it's a plein air painting, and it sort of reminds me a little bit of George Ennis, and I kind of like that connection with it. And it's a little miniature in a way. It's very precious.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Okay,
think
so I don't know if we need
find
a
a place.
motion. Right. I don't know if we need a motion, but I guess, is anybody objecting to accepting the donation? Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead with it. Okay, the review and discussion of the Bahamian sculpture, call to artists. And I think we need to establish a subcommittee. And I know that Lucianne gave us a lot of information, and I know Diane and I have always also been digging around for both literature and images of the sponge hookers. Well, we've lost Bill. Theo, would you like to take this on?
I would probably have to do more research on it. I haven't done too much research on the topic yet. I read the articles that were sent, but other than that, I haven't done my own research.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Well,
not
I
sure
mean,
if it's something that
right,
I'm 100% interested in yet, but I would definitely like to do some more research on it.
Okay, Lucianne?
I would just clarify that I asked for information, but the information that was sent out about the Bahamian boats and the companion article actually came from Diane and were part of the research done for the exhibit that was in the.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
That's all right, but I will say that when Diane and I were talking about it, she suggested going to the Historical Society for more specific tie-ins between the Bahamians and Tarpon Springs itself. I didn't go to the Historical Society, but I did go to the library, and there are 2 books there on the history of Tarpon Springs that were helpful. One was part of a Black History series. It was co-authored by Carol Mountain, who still lives in town, and Sandra Rooks, who is very active with the African American Museum in St. Pete. So those 2 sources might help you, Theo.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, or Lucianne, would you like to co-chair with Theo? Because it sounds like you've already got, some ideas. And I believe you're
We
the.
talk to each other? Can
Yes,
Theo and I talk to each other?
you can exchange information, correct, Diane?
Subcommittee, I'll have to just make sure how we would do that, but
I'm happy to supply Theo with anything that I've run across without being a co-chair.
Okay,
I'm glad to.
and I
talk.
guess everything's got to go through Diane.
But if we got a subcommittee, I'll find out exactly how that will have to work. I know it kind of spells it out in the ordinance, if y'all want to go ahead and review the ordinance too, under juries and subcommittees and things like that, but I'll
Right.
just, you tell me who the members are gonna be, and I'll find out what the correct procedure will be, because I can't imagine that you have to go through me for everything,
Right, yeah, it's burdensome. But Theo, I know you have, a lot of roots in the community. Lucianne, you have a lot of roots in the community. And I know that there are still people in Tarpon who have actually worked with the sponge hookers. So maybe we can also try to solicit some, first person accounts or, or some kind of family lore in as much as it exists, and just try. So we're going to be looking also to put some, Tarpon citizens on the committee. This is going to be expanded beyond the public art committee, to include citizens and, perhaps somebody from the historical society. So maybe you can, give some thought to that. Lucianne, maybe you can make some suggestions, as I said, because your roots in the community go very deep. I think that you'd be a tremendous.
I'll pass everything I can think of along. Sure.
Okay. The one person that I did speak to about it was Athena Sardulius. And I know she said her father worked with the sponge hookers. But as you can imagine, he's up in age, and everything would have to go through Athena. So, maybe if you, Theo, if you could come up with some questions that you might want to give to her to ask him, that might be the simplest way, in the, most respectful way to do something like that.
Okay.
And just so you all know too, that I did talk to Christopher Still to see if he had any photos, and he had some additional that he shared with us. They weren't any different. They weren't much different from the ones that Joan and I were able to find, but he is going to be doing some research on Bailey's Bluff for his painting for Advent. And so I will just ask him that if he finds out anything about, the Bahamian divers, that, maybe he could share it with us, too, because I told him the project that you all were going to be working on, and he was excited about it.
Right, Lucianne, I believe that there are a lot of images from the Bailey's Bluff settlement in the Carroll Mountain Brooks book. So, that would be something maybe, you could get hold of.
Yeah, she wrote a general history of Tarpon, and then she co-authored the one on African Americans with Sandra Rooks. So the library has several copies of each of those, and I can send the titles to you, Theo.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, and please make any suggestions for, any community members that you think should be at least approached to be included in this project. So I think it's, we really need the feedback from the community. Okay, Diane, do you have any announcements from the city?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, the closing procedures for the August. Oh, Marissa, we didn't get any emails on this, did we?
We did not receive any emails on this topic.
Okay, Mark, are there any public comments on any of these items?
If anyone would like to comment, please raise your hand and you'll be allowed in. I'm not seeing any raised hands, so we have no public comment at this time.
Okay, as you can see, the additions to the agenda for our next meeting, which is August 11th, we'll be actually looking at whatever came in for the art boxes. We'd like to review the historical research for the Bahamian sponge hooker statue and review the dumpster or the mural call to artists. And the next regular meeting will be 2 o'clock on Tuesday, August 11th at 2 p.m. I assume that will be another Zoom meeting. Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments before we adjourn?
Yeah, I have a question for Diane about the call to artists. When could I have this so that I can get in touch with the Art Association? When would I have the?
I had mentioned I'm going to go ahead and make the revisions this afternoon. I'll get it to you this evening before 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, now this is the motion everybody should jump at. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second? Come on, Theo, second.
I'll second.
The meeting is adjourned at 3:15 p.m. Thank you all very much.
Have a good afternoon.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye-bye.